right, welcome back to the Higher Self Wellness podcast. My name's Alec Hurley, and I'm your host. Thanks for taking the time to come in and spend it with me. And so just sending a lot of gratitude to you. If you're new to the show, then welcome and a big warm hug to you. If you are returning, thanks for coming back. And if you haven't taken the time yet to rate or review this podcast, I would appreciate it if you did so. It'd be a great way for you to show some support and to return just a little bit of gratitude back in this way. So, today I get to talk with a fellow sister from another mister, Casey Squillacote, and it's just a fun little conversation we have about taking responsibility for our mindset as well as our lifestyle and how powerful this can be over time. And this is coming back to this idea that I like to presence a lot and that I teach from. And it's this idea of adaptability and also of learning new ways to support yourself. And when we learn new ways to support ourselves, we can deepen our relationship to ourselves and also make this massive long-term progress in our health so we can just enjoy life a little bit more. And so, we talk a little bit about grief and how that can be a big catalyst for life-changing choices. And overall, it's just really fun and inviting, so I hope you enjoy it. And if you do enjoy this, then I appreciate it if you share it with somebody or reach out. And also, before getting into it, if you'd like to talk about how you can begin to change your own lifestyle and learn new ways of doing things, connect with me through the website, www.higherself.yoga, and sign up for one of the free wellness workshops where we can devote the 40 minutes of that time to do just specifically that. So, here we go. So I know you really like to pay attention to just like nurturing yourself through food. Mm-hmm. So, and I also know that, you've been through some grief lately. Mm-hmm. So when did you start paying attention to what you were eating and supporting yourself? And when did you start that?
Yeah, I think for me, growing up, I had a diet that was different than a lot of young people in the 90s anyway. So I kind of started off with an awareness about food and what you put in your body. But when I started to individually take a look at it and really decide what's best for my body, I was probably in my mid-20s. And it was actually you and my sister who were first kind of introducing me to the different changes I could make and the benefits of changing my diet. So I think it was probably a little bit influenced by you guys, but then just trial and error, big meals versus little meals, salads versus grains, whatever, just seeing what made my body feel better. Yeah. It's only been a couple of years now, maybe 5 years.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know for myself, it's always just the kind of experimentation of like, this is working now and this is working better than, like, eating this works better. It makes me feel better than that. And I remember, like, for me, that was huge when I started just playing around with eating different things and eating in different ways and just noticing how it supports my life in different ways.
Yeah, I don't believe that there is one diet for everyone, that's for sure. There's definitely universally bad foods for everyone, but I don't think there's a specific way of eating that is best for anyone. So I do think it takes exploration and individual time spent. You can't just meet someone and them tell you that what they eat and then that be the best thing for you. You have to find out for yourself for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So So playing around with nourishing yourself, like, was there any? What were like the motivating factors behind starting that?
I don't know if I had motivating factors exactly, but I think talking to people that were doing it already and hearing their stories was a initial motivating factor. But then as I changed my diet, I noticed my skin was clearer. I had more energy. I felt lighter. So just the immediate changes that I felt were probably an incentive for me to continue doing that and keep up with the diet that I had kind of discovered was best for myself. You feel better. You feel lighter. You can move throughout the day. You don't feel heavy. Things like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm very active. I like to be active. So I felt it made exercise easier as well.
Cool. Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense. Is there, so like what is, I guess, what's like a template? Do you have like a template for like breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Mm-hmm. And, or do you, let's say here, do you choose your foods more intuitively, or do you stick to like, just like ratios of like carbohydrates mm-hmm. and proteins and fats and all that stuff? Yeah. Do you like calculate all that stuff, or do you monitor all that stuff?
Definitely don't calculate it. That's for sure.
So it's more so just like intuitive, just like, oh, I feel like I need this, so I'm going to eat that.
Yeah. And I think also, so I think it's more intuitive for sure. I'm not counting calories. I'm not counting my fat. I'm not counting my protein intake, anything like that. But I've noticed for me specifically, a bigger breakfast is usually best for me. I like to start with a heavy meal and then work my way lighter throughout the day. I think I've noticed that my sleep improves that way. I sleep a lot better when I can go to bed not hungry, but not stuffed, not full, not heavy. Mm-hmm. So that's like the basic, I guess, model I follow. But within that, I'll eat different foods every day. But I also don't mind eating the same stuff every day. Like if you find something that works for you and it's it might be boring to a lot of people, but to me, I don't mind eating the same stuff every day because I know it's going to make me feel good at the end of the day. So mm-hmm. But I guess that is intuitive. So if I'm having a day where if it's a really hot day, I don't want hot meals. So I'm going to change it up and just eat, cold meals, but I'll still follow that heavier to lighter mm-hmm.
System. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like get yourself nice and satiated in the morning mm-hmm. time mm-hmm. and all fueled up and then just like burning through that energy throughout the day.
Yeah, and I think for me, most of my activity is going to be in the middle of the day. So for me to have that big breakfast and then burn it off after, it just works for me that way, Mm-hmm. And I like to eat if I'm gonna exercise, if I'm gonna go to the gym or dance or do whatever, dog walk, whatever throughout the day, then I usually like to have a meal after that that's not to quench hunger because I don't feel starving at that point, but just to I don't know how to explain it, but it's like if you eat a meal after you have a hard exercise, you can actually like feel the way it's nourishing your body. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that feeling for me is also really important, and it doesn't have to be that big heavy meal that most people have after a workout. To me, it's more about eating like greens and maybe quinoa or rice or something like that, and then veggies, beans. Also, I love to eat those after workout. Nice. I can actually like feel it feeding my body. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think it's not about the size; it's more about what you're eating at that point.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, yeah. The body's intelligent, and like when you stress it enough, and then you feed it what it needs. Mm-hmm. You can really notice your body's just like receiving the food a lot better to like the deeper levels rather than just like stuffing your face or just like covering something up. Mm-hmm. Or like, oh, I feel like I need to eat. Yep. So I'm bored and I'm gonna eat. And now I just feel lethargic and full and heavy.
Yeah, and I think of a lot of people who are really active. I've seen this a lot of people who weight lift. Mm-hmm. They'll work out. They'll like kill their body. They'll drain their energy, and then they'll eat this giant meal after because they feel like they have to just fill their body and to the point of being stuffed, to the point of being lethargic. And I don't find that that's it. It's not about gorging,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's about nourishing.
Yeah. I really like following the model of like eat, don't eat, don't eat. So just like spacing things out. And then like when you are finishing up that time of like not eating, whether it's for like a solid 5 hours in between a meal or whether it's like 16 hours from the meal the previous day to the next meal, it's like your body is just more open to receive it.
Yeah.
And
I think it goes to where it needs to go.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of excess at that point. It's like you haven't eaten for 16 hours. You fasted overnight for 16 hours. So when you eat what do you eat in the morning? Usually like a mix of nuts.
Sometimes it'll be like a really big smoothie with avocado and a whole bunch of vegetables.
Right.
And a whole bunch of fiber and fat.
Yeah, so at that point you wake up and you eat that and you feel it going into your bloodstream. You feel it going like into your body, how it needs to go. Mm-hmm. It's not just being like stored excess. And then I think that's what makes you lethargic and lazy.
No, definitely. The sluggish digestion when you're overdoing it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so outside of the nutrition, like I know you had a pretty dramatic life change the end of last year. Mm-hmm. And went through a period of grief. Mm-hmm. And so how has like your healthy template for nourishing yourself like really helped? How did that help you move through the grief?
I think when you experience grief, it can go two ways, right? Like I think it can overcome you and push you down, like feel like you're drowning, or it can, obviously, no matter what, it's hard, but I think it can also transform you into being a better version of yourself because you witness a loss of life or, whatever it is that you're grieving. And so for me, I think it actually kind of refocused me into taking better care of myself. I mean, I already had a pretty healthy diet and a really active lifestyle, but it was kind of a good distraction, a good reality check, to like refocus and just to see how important diet is, lifestyle is, activity is to living like a long and not just a long life, but a quality of life, because you can live to be 90 and be in a wheelchair for the last 20 years of your life or bedridden. And I don't want that. So, so anyway, I think I think it just helped me grow better. I think it was like I think when you're already healthy and you're already focused on your well-being, and you have a traumatic event like that, I think it's just a good distraction and a good way to channel that what could be really negative energy, but to channel into a positive way and learn and grow from it and become better after the grief process. Yeah.
Yeah, because you see like other possibilities of like, wow, if I don't keep my routines and my habits and my healthy lifestyle in check, like there's a lot of things that can happen.
Wrong, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's like the reality check of like, oh wow, yeah, this is possible if I don't continue to pay attention to these elements that keep me healthy and moving and vibrant.
Yeah, and I think in my specific situation, it was almost a pretty clear relation between lifestyle and what created the sickness in the person that I lost. Mm-hmm. So to see that and like see how strongly it was connected. It makes you want to make the most of the time, especially when you're young and you can create these healthy habits. I think it's just very important. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when you can see a direct correlation between a positive or negative lifestyle and how that can affect you later in life. Mm-hmm. I think that's a blessing, a good thing to see as a young person.
Yeah, definitely, and it's not easy, but that's a lot of times our biggest teachers aren't the easy situations, and the people that make our lives easier, but it's the people that challenge us in ways and challenge our beliefs and challenge us to do things differently and to learn from everything that we're going through.
Yeah. Everyone has hard times, so you might as well learn good things from it. You're not gone. Your life's not over. Mm-hmm. You have to live on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, like, you have to take control of your own actions and of your own behaviors. And then if you're not, you're just leaving it up to, like, the influence of others. Mm-hmm. or to be persuaded in others and to do what others think that you should be doing for yourself.
Yeah. I think there's a huge, that's a really important point, is that as much as I think a lot of people want to just like go with the flow and let life happen. And I think there's a point to that, but I think there's a huge part of life that you are in control of, and you can, not that you have to be rigid and not flexible, but it's about just deciding what you want, or how you want to live, and then sticking to that like framework. And yeah, you can like budge and you can be flexible within that, but really deciding the lifestyle you want, and if how you want to eat, how you want to exercise, the people you want to be around, the energy you want to be around and put out. Those are all decisions you can make for yourself and be in control of. And then it's important.
Yeah, definitely. It's like taking responsibility of your own life.
Yeah.
And how when you take responsibility of your own life, you are responsible for your own behaviors, for your own actions, and ultimately how that supports you and carries you out throughout your life. Mm-hmm. So in the end, it's like we're all responsible for the state of our own longevity and vitality throughout life. So it's like you can take control of it now and like upgrade your behaviors and your habits and your eating routines and how you nourish yourself. So you're not, or potentially not, in a wheelchair unless some freak accident and your legs get run over.
Happen, but yeah.
But I mean, but for the most part, like as long as those freak accidents don't happen, like we have control over how we're gonna spend our life and how we will.
And it can start with the diet. It can start right there as your first step, because that might be the easiest thing to control. Yeah. So yeah, that's a really good starting point. Yeah. So have you always had that like mindset about that, or did something influence your mindset to shift about taking responsibility for your lifestyle? Yeah, for a long time I didn't have that mindset at all. So it's definitely I'm an example of someone transforming to this mindset. I don't know exactly. I think you just get to a point maybe where you are tired of being tired, or you're. You come to realize, I think, that you perpetuate your life and you perpetuate the things that are in it. So if you're feeling low, or you're feeling depressed, or you're feeling lonely, and then you keep putting that out there, it keeps coming back to you, right? So then I think I just hit a wall one day and I should, this is stupid. This is like not fun. I want to have fun. I want to laugh. I want to be silly. I want to be childlike. I want to focus back onto that. And I think it just was a conscious choice kind of. And then the beautiful thing about it is once you do that, you start to see how you invite things into your life by what you put out there, right? So I think that's like what kept me going on that path, is seeing the return. It's very obvious and very clear once you start doing it. Yeah. It's like when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Yeah, totally. Duh. Yeah. And it's like, seems impossible at times, especially when you're in those moments of like stress or you have a breakup or whatever it is that happens in your life. It feels like there's no way out. But then as soon as you just make that choice, the great thing about it is it does, it's almost like an instant return, I think. It's not one of those things where you have to wait. Like if you're trying to lose weight, it takes time, and you have to wait maybe 6 months to see the 10 pounds shed or something. But I think with changing your mindset, like how we're talking about doing that, it's almost an instant return if you really do it. Yeah. Absolutely. So that fuels it, I think. Yeah. It's almost like the support. It's like the changing your mindset sets a trajectory of like, okay, I'm going to choose to see the lessons behind this situation right now. Yeah. And it's like, okay, wow, yeah, now I changed the lens in which I'm seeing this as, an opportunity for growth rather than an opportunity to just like lay in bed and, sulk. Yeah. 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 And I think that comes along with too is gratitude. I think gratitude's like a huge part of that, is you just live in gratitude. And so in the worst situation, you choose to look at that situation and say, like, what did I learn from this? What how can I grow from this? Or what can I appreciate from that? Like, you lose someone you love, but you are grateful for all the years you had with them, or all like the amazing fun moments you had with them. So you just switch your perspective from depression or loss or something was taken away from you, and you just shift it to be more positive. And then you think about like, oh, well, I had 30 years with that person, and that's really amazing in itself, because 30 years is longer than some people get. Things like that. I just think, I think so. I think gratitude is like a huge part of that, about being able to shift your perspective and be more positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gratitude. And then like, I think what you're touching on is like the acceptance of the law of impermanence, of how everything is constantly in flux and changing and just evolving. Mm-hmm. And, it's something I like to touch on as well. And then just being curious about like, okay, well, what is in this situation that has, like, what is there for me in this situation as far as, something to learn, or maybe something to give, or.
Yeah, exactly. Give. That's a good point too. Yeah. It's like maybe you go through a hard time because you're going to help someone else go through it later, or, a friend is going to go through a similar situation. You can say, I've already been there. Mm-hmm. This is what I went through, and maybe it helps that person. So yeah, that's another great thing about hard times too, is you learn and you can help others.
Cool.
Yeah.
So so I imagine like changing your healthy eating habits and all that stuff has really helped you shift your perspective on all this stuff. And
it's like a catalyst for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's been like kind of like your anchor. Mm-hmm. Like when you began to take control of your health, like, was it in that order? You began to take control of your health and your eating habits, and then kind of everything else began to shift, like your openness to shift your perspective and to see, what's going on behind the scenes, rather than just like having the situations beat you down.
Yeah, I think when you are healthier with what you put in your body, you just become clearer all around. And a part of like the diet was I drank less. I used to drink a lot. I think most of us do, like go through a phase of that. And I just cut back on that also. And that made my head clearer. And then I think also when you have a healthy diet, it encourages you to be more active and exercise more too. So yeah, I think it's a catalyst to a lot of really good things. But you just become more in tune, I think, with your body also, which helps you be more in tune with your mind. Mm-hmm. It's like a chain reaction.
Yeah. Especially if you think of like the mind and the spirit living within the body, or using it as the house. If you keep the house nice and healthy and clean and all of that. Yeah, exactly. Then everything else just kind of happens a little bit easier.
Definitely. Yeah. You have to give yourself space, right? Yeah. And you have to make that space.
I like that. Cool. So,
But so back to, I have another point, which is like not about diet, but it's about the impermanence thing, and how like we all have to really just accept that that's life. Like nothing's permanent, and the better you can accept change, the easier life will be. I have like I was a kind of a weird kid, and I used to always, not as weird as my sister, but I was like a weird kid, and I remember being like 5 years old and being like, my mom's gonna die someday. My mom's going to die someday. I know it. That's life. And I would like stay home from school. Be like, I want to hang out with my mom because I know she's going to die one day. It's like almost at like a young age, I had this like weird, I don't know if I accepted it, but I understood that happens in life. Mm-hmm. Change. People go away. Your pets die. Like, that's just part of life. And so I kind of have been open to that since I was a very young kid. Like I was preparing myself at a young age, which is kind of weird, but cool.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. But that's just my brain.
Yeah.
Weird.
I think we know a lot of this stuff as children, but then like going through life, we're conditioned to kind of like push that stuff away and to push those understandings away. And then we're taught, how to, ignore a lot of these things. And, but ultimately we know like, oh yeah, things are always in flux and change. And I think that's a good benefit of like inviting in that childlike curiosity of like, oh yeah, everything is always changing. So what is happening next? Like what's the next phase of this part of my life, and how is that going to look, and how can I support that to happen a little bit more? And whether it's through, like being open to shifting my perspective, or nourishing myself and eating a little bit healthier, exercising more, appreciating life more,
Yeah, I think that's part of it too. As like a young person, a lot of times you feel invincible, and in that feeling of being invincible, you forget that everyone dies. Life is not permanent. And so I think that's part of it too, is like it makes you not think about 40 years from now when you're going to be older. Everyone gets older, things like that. You don't, as a 20-year-old, you don't think in 40 years I'm going to be 60. And if I drink for the next 10 years straight, I'm probably going to have liver problems or kidney issues or whatever. So, I think if you can be a younger person and accept that life is temporary and things are changing always, and you might be more likely to take care of yourself. And that can start with a diet, or that can start with meditating or mindfulness or whatever. However it manifests is your own choice. But accepting, I think going back to the root of accepting that things are not permanent and life isn't permanent. You're not invincible.
Yeah.
That's important.
And neither should your eating routines. Like, that should be evolving as well as we grow. And so that's cool.
Yep.
Right on. Well, anything else you'd like to share?
Nope.
Right on. Well, thanks for those.
Actually, I do have one thing to share. So I think diet is something you learn from your parents for the most part. Like most things, you learn from your parents, you learn from your family, your upbringing. I think it's really important as you get older to challenge that, and be independent in your thinking about religion, about diet, about lifestyle, just whatever it is. So I think that's like a huge thing to push on people, is don't be afraid to think for yourself and discover what is best for you.
Challenge your programming.
Yep. That's it.
Cool. So, you heard it. Challenge your programming.
Challenge your programming.
Nice.
Sooner than later.
Yeah, sooner than later. No, it is. Right on. Well, yeah. Thanks for sharing that stuff.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Alec.
Yeah, of course.
Good times.
Yeah. All right, Casey.
Bye.
Well, you heard it. Challenge your programming. Nourish yourself. And most importantly, do the things that support yourself long term. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation, and if you'd like to explore and just kind of have a little bit of support through asking some new questions, feel free to reach out. And health is really simple. And I'll end on this last note that all it really takes is doing more of the things that regenerate ourselves and less of the things that degenerate ourselves. And if we can learn new habits and new skills and new ways of doing things that help regenerate ourselves, then over time we can deepen our connection to ourselves and make massive changes, make these massive shifts long term in our health. So thanks for taking the time, tuning in, listening, and once again, if you're inspired to rate and review this podcast, then I would appreciate that. And most importantly, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you are in time and space listening to this. And much love to you. Take care.